Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. All right, so today I've got so much to talk about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to record this video today and then another video tomorrow, my normal video tomorrow. You know, updates and stuff like that of what I've been reading. But if I wanted to do everything that I wanted to talk about in this one video, it's going to be too long and no one's going to watch it. So I'm going to split it up into two videos, one today and then my regular one tomorrow. So what is special about this one today? Well, today's October 1st. We're in spooky season. So I'm going to give you my TBR for October. Some spooky stuff in there. But real quick, let me say something real quick. So I took this note down. Forgive me here. So I got a notification on my channel that someone had mentioned me in one of their videos. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I don't get that very often. Kim has done that, the paper traveler, on her channel. And so I go and I look this up, and this channel is called the GKBC. It's guy's name's Graz, and GKBC stands for Griswold King Book Club. Now, he gave me a shout out on his channel. This is his very first video. It's not great quality. He's sitting in his dining room. It's very blurry, but kudos to the dude for starting his own Booktube channel. He gave a shout out to 4 other creators, Booktubers, that inspired him to start his channel, and I was one of them. I can't believe it. I mean, for someone, I always say, you know, if you find any entertaining value in my videos, please like, subscribe, and leave comments, because I love reading the comments. I say that all the time. And he actually listed me as 4 booktubers that he watches that has influenced him and made him want to do his own channel. And I just think that is the most awesome thing in the world, that someone would actually say that. Now, I'm going to not mention the other 3, because what I want you to do is go watch his video. And you can see who the other 3 are. And he talks, he does a newbie tag video for his first video. I've never really done that. I'm thinking about maybe doing something like that at my 1-year mark, which is coming up, the first of the year. So I just wanted to first say, hey, go check out his video, his channel. He's a new booktuber, and it takes a lot of guts to do it. He's very nervous. We all are. I'm still nervous every day. Every time I do a video, I get nervous as hell. So I just wanted to shout out to him, and I'll put a link to his channel, of course, in my comments. All right, so we got that out of the way. Let's real quick go through my reading updates for, well, now the end of September. So I got lucky. Some of you know I live in Florida, and the path of the Hurricane Ian was supposed to come right through where I live. I live a little bit north of Tampa, and it took a right turn, and it went lower, of course, and did tremendous damage. But I got through it unscathed. Really, we got a lot of rain, we got some wind, some downed tree limbs and stuff like that. But pretty much my house, I had no real damage. But because of the state of emergency and evacuations, I got 2 days off from work. So that's one good thing, I guess, that happened out of Ian, was I had 2 days off of work, and I got to complete a lot of my reading that I really wanted to get done by the end of September. So I did get done with the short story here in Memories Legion. You know, I'm doing my Expanse read along, and I finished Gods of Risk, which was the next short story in this series. I will talk about this in my regular video that I do tomorrow. Let's get that out of the way. I did finish the 3 Hainish novels by Ursula K. Le Guin. We will talk about that in tomorrow's video as well. And I finished the book 1 in my Miracle Man read through. There's 4 books, and I don't know. I might wait until I'm done with all 4 of these before I do a review of this. But this is by Alan Moore, and then eventually Neil Gaiman took over for the last book. So I got that done. All right, so I got that out of the way. All right, now my TBR for spooky season October. First, just get this out of the way. I don't know how you say this. Cibola? Does that sound right? Cibola Burn? This is book 4 in the Expanse read-along that I'm doing on Moyd's channel. So I'm not going to skip. I'm going to keep right along with my read-through. So that will be done in October. Now we get into the spooky season and my spooky reads. I actually got through one today. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. It was just a short story compilation that I actually listened to on Audible. We'll talk about that. But what am I going to read? So I'm going kind of classic, kind of old school this year with my spooky reads. I'm going to read Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. Now, I read this book many years ago, so this is going to be a reread for me, but new to my channel. So I'm going to read this. This movie scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. My parents didn't want me to watch it. I snuck. I watched it. Scared the hell out of me. So Rosemary's Baby we're going to read, and in conjunction with that, I'm going to read Son of Rosemary by Ira Levin. I have not read this, so that's going to be new for me. These 2 kind of short novels. I'm really hoping to get through all these. I can read maybe 5 books a month if I count my comic books that I read as a book, and of course listening to Audible while I'm working. I usually can get through 5 books. I'm going to try to get through a little bit more this month, but these are small books. I haven't read it yet. So, Son of Rosemary. Also, yep, The Exorcist. William Peter Blatty. I read this again years ago. Both of those, Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist, were on my mother's bookshelf. And I mean, I've talked about her a lot. That's my whole inspiration for reading was my mother. And I just would always raid her bookshelves when I could. Exorcist was one of the ones on there. I used to look at it on the bookshelf and it would scare me. I knew what it was about. I knew it was scary. And I would see that and I would say, Exorcist. I want to read it, but it's going to scare the pants off me. So, but I did read it eventually a long time ago. So I'm going to do a reread of The Exorcist. And along with that, I'm going to read Legion, the next book in the series. Actually, they made it into a movie, but it was the 3rd movie. He really does not have anything to do with the 2nd movie. The 2nd movie was horrible. If you've watched the movies, the 2nd movie was horrible. He wants nothing to do with it. Well, he's passed away now. But anyways, the 3rd one is Legion, but the 2nd book. Anyways, I have it somewhere. I did purchase this new house that I'm in about 1.5 years ago, and I still haven't unboxed all my boxes. I know it's ridiculous, but you know, they say every time you move, you never unbox all the boxes. So I'm going to find it. Definitely, I'm going to have to go through some other boxes and find it. And there's another one too. So I'm going to read that, Legion. I'm also want to read Turn of the Screw. I have that too, and I can't find that either. It's got to be with Legion. I know it is. So 2 short books. Legion's very short. Turn of the Screw is very short. So I should be able to get through those as well 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 books. And I'm pushing it. I'm still pushing it. Now, y'all, I don't know if y'all know, but Peter Straub passed away in September. So I'm going to read In the Night Room by Peter Straub. Now, I'm not doing Ghost Story. I read Ghost Story, again, years ago. It was on my mother's shelf. I read it. I'll be honest with you, it was over my head. It was too much for me. I really didn't quite understand. I know it was a ghost story, but I don't know. His writing style was a little bit different to me. And I think if I read it now, maybe it would be better for me. Just like, when I read The Haunting of Hill House recently this year. I had never read it, and I loved it. I think, though, if I would have read it, years ago when I was younger, I may not have appreciated it like I do today. So I'm hoping that that's going to be the case with this, because I really, didn't dig ghost stories that much. And I looked through my house, the only other 2 novels I have with Peter Straub's name on it, of course, are Talisman and The Dark Room with Stephen King. And I'll be honest, not my favorite King novels, and part of the reason is because of the Peter Straub. In those novels, and tell me if you feel the same way. In those novels, I could almost tell who was writing each chapter. It just was a different voice, a different style, and I didn't really like Straub that much. So I looked through my bookshelves and I found this one. It was actually just sitting right here the whole time. In the Night Room. I know nothing about it. Another small book, short book, but it's by Peter Straub, and to, give some type of honor to, one of the, great American writers that, a lot of people are fans of. I'm going to try to read through this one and see if I like it. Like I said, I just was never really a big Peter Straub fan. Beat me up in the comments if you want, or tell me another book that I should read that's really great. But I have this one, so I'm going to read this one. And it's not too big, so we're going to get that out of the way. All right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 novels that I'm going to try to get through this month, spooky season, October. All right, so I kind of hinted I did get through one though already today, so that would kind of be 8. Let me pull it up here if I can on my iPad. Okay, so focus. All right, so it's called Great Classic Horror. Now, sometimes you can go on Audible and they have a lot of free content. Audible originals, things like that. And I just searched through free horror because I had to work today. I had to work earlier today, 1st of October. And I saw this one. It was free. It's called Great Classic Horror. So I got it. It was free. And I listened to it today. It was only 2.5 hours long. But I want to talk about it. First off, Great Classic Horrors. An audio exclusive on Audible, produced by BBC America Audio. It is narrated by Garrett Wynne, what's his name? Davies. Really good. Actually, the narration was great because these are classic horror. What does the classic mean? Not classic necessarily meaning that these are classics, like everyone's got to read these. Classic meaning they're older, right? They're basically, Gothic tales from days of yore. But let's get into the numbers real quick. It's an Audible original, so it says 1 page. It doesn't have 1 page. I didn't research each individual story. because different volumes, you know, different editions have different page counts. But it was 2.5 hours to listen to, so not very big. There are 6 stories in this great classic horror audio production. The first one, A Watcher by the Dead. Now, this is one of the reasons why I grabbed it, because it said by Ambrose Bierce. And I like Ambrose Bierce. Probably you might know him. His most popular story is An Occurrence at Owl Creek, or at Owl Creek Bridge. I've read that years ago, and actually several times since then. And I like Ambrose. Ambrose is cool. Ambrose was a satirist, mainly writing articles in newspapers and things like that. And of course, back then, you know, a lot of stories and short stories, novelizations, things like that got published in newspapers. So it's very reminiscent to me. The story and the style is very reminiscent of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Now, this story, I don't know. I didn't really like that much. It's The Watcher by the Dead. I'm not gonna tell you too much about it. You can research this if you want. But the coolest thing, I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. An interesting thing about Ambrose Bierce was he disappeared. In 1913, he was 71 years old. He disappeared. They believe he disappeared in Mexico because of a note that they found of his saying something along the lines of, if you find me dead, shot against a wall, like line-up style against a wall in Mexico, it's a good way of going, I guess. Something like that. Like it's better than growing old or falling down the stairs. They found this note that he wrote, and then he disappeared. So they think in Mexico, but they never found him, so who knows. Anyway, so that's the first one. The second one, The Body Snatchers by Robert Louis Stevenson. I'm not going to really go into that much at all. Everybody knows who Robert Louis Stevenson is and what he's famous for. Really, I'm just kind of giving you this information. So if you want to do some research and look these up, you can do it yourself, or even get this great classic horror audio that's free. The third story was The Adventure of the German Student. Now, this is by Washington Irving. I've read this story actually several times. It's one of my favorite short horror stories. I love it. I don't know why. It's kind of cheesy. It's a ghost story, but I don't know. I like Washington Irving. You know, y'all know I got this. The Legends of Sleepy Hollow and Other Stories by Washington Irving. Love this little edition here. The problem is that story is not in this book. So that sucks, but whatever. Look it up. The Adventure of the German Student by Washington Irving. See what you think about it. I freaking love it. I think it's a cool little ghost story, actually. All right, next, number 4. There's only 6. Dick on the Devil, and that's by J. Sheridan LaFanu. And J. Sheridan, all right, so J. Sheridan, first off, I'm just curious. Do you think that Babylon 5 got John Sheridan from this author, J. Sheridan LaFanu? I'm curious. I should ask Michael J. Straczynski what he thinks, like we're friends. But anyways, so J. Sheridan LaFanu wrote Carmilla. Carmilla is, I read this a year ago, 2 years ago maybe. Really cool. It's the original vampire story. He actually wrote Carmilla 26 years before Dracula ever came out. So it's the original vampire story. If you're into vampires and you haven't read Carmilla, you gotta read Carmilla. Cool story. I loved it. But Dick on the Devil, not so much. I just listened to it a couple hours ago, and I can't tell you what it's about. Yeah, didn't stick with me. Didn't like it. Anyways, next, number 5, The Fall of the House of Ushers by Edgar Allan Poe. Oh my goodness. I'm an educated guy, you know. I went to school from the 70s through the 80s. That means, of course, that I can actually do real math. I can write in cursive. I can tell the time on a analog clock. I'm being facetious here, but Edgar Allan Poe, and I'm a huge fan of H.P. Lovecraft. I read H.P. Lovecraft all the time. I've read his stories over and over. Now, Edgar Allan Poe, being a contemporary of that, that time period, I guess, writes in a certain style. And this one is very difficult for me. I love some of his other, stories. The Telltale Heart, of course. The Cast of Amontillado. I love that. The Raven. You can go on and on. Some of his poetry, but this story, oh my gosh, I don't do this a lot, but I've got this Tales of Edgar Allan Poe. It's a pretty cool edition here, because there's some artwork in here, and of course now I can't find any artwork here. Here's a picture of Edgar. Hope you can see that. But this has a selection of his stories, and I don't think it's his most popular ones. I mean, let me see here. Well, the Rue Morgue is in here. That's a good one. The Tomb is good, of course. But The Fall of the House of Usher. Let me go to it. Here's a nice melancholy House of Usher. It's a little piece of artwork that is at the front of this story. I'm going to read something to you, and it's hard for me, so bear with me, please. Let me read just this sentence. One sentence at the beginning of the story, which informs kind of the rest of the story, informing by meaning how he wrote this story. I was aware, however, that his very ancient family had been noted, time out of mind, for a peculiar sensibility of temperament, displaying itself, through long ages, in many works of exalted art, and manifested of late, in repeated deeds of munification yet unobtrusive charity, as well as in a passionate devotion to the interests, perhaps even more than to the orthodox and easily recognizable beauties, of musical science, period. That one sentence has 11 commas in it, and that is indicative of the entire story. It's very difficult for me to read. It was even difficult for me to listen to, and Mr. Davies did an excellent job, and it was still hard for me to get through. Just a tough story. An old Gothic house ghost story by Edgar Allan Poe. Some of you probably love it. Not my favorite. And last is number 6, The Open Window by Saki. Now, Saki's a pen name, and the pen name, it's for this author, Hector Hugo Monroe. Also another person that, wrote a lot of short stories, but did a lot of, was a newspaper reporter doing a lot of newspaper articles and things like that. And this, The Open Window, is probably his most famous work. It's a ghost story. It's, I think, pretty forgettable. Sorry, Saki. I didn't dig it. So basically, I just wanted to let you know I got through that already. So I'm adding that to my spooky season read. Great classic horror based by BBC America Audio. Get it? It's free. It's an easy listen. 2.5 hours. You're done. It's got some good stories in there. Like I said, The Adventure of the German Student is my favorite, of course. But if you're interested in reading or listening just to get into the season, it's good one to just start off with. That's what I started off with, and now we're hitting the road running. All right, guys, so that's going to be the end of this video. I'm sorry. I'm rambling like I normally do. I'm sorry. But like I say, if you found any entertaining value in this video, please like, subscribe, and please leave comments. I love reading the comments and seeing the interaction. So that's going to be it for now. I'll see you tomorrow with my regular scheduled video. All right, guys. Thank you. Peace out.